All right, guys, so we got in all the parts for the bike, and it looks really good. So this is like a bright white, I think it's a Hyundai color, and they changed it just a little bit. So it's supposed to have a little black in it. They didn't include the black, but it looks really, really good. So I'm super stoked about it. And it's got this really cool blue pearl I had them add on top of it. And they did it through a clear base is what it is. As a mid layer. So you get some really neat blue tones, and you can kind of check them out in some of the little clips here. Pretty sweet. All right, guys, so on the gauge panel down here, painting everything on the bike. So this has got to come off. I'm just going to spray it black, actually. But in order to get it off, what you've got to do is take your key and put your key in unlock, and you're going to turn it backwards past the unlock, and there's a button under here that has to be depressed. As soon as you twist that, it usually takes 2 hands, but you can pull that off, you catch the spring, but that will pull it down to the switch. And then taking this nut off, depending on how tight it is, that comes out. And that will pull up out of there. This one on mine is broken, so I have another one to go on there. That will pop up out of the way. There we go. That will pop up out of the way. And then this piece will come off. A couple of extra screws down here, each side, and that should pop out of the way. All right, guys, so we got the bike stripped down a pretty good bit now. The front side of the fairing off. And got these loose too. They're just kind of hanging out, so you can pull the fairing all the way off. But this is what I wanted to show you. The other stuff, got the new fairing in, everything, all the parts and everything are getting painted now. This piece right here is the wiring harness adapter. Well, I'm not gonna pull off there, but that's the wiring harness adapter for the rear speakers. So these are the only 4 wires you need off this one. If you have an Ultra, then you've already got this filled. But if you've got just a Classic that only has front speakers, the rears won't be here. So this is an adapter, and it comes out with a plug on it. I just clip the plug off, and I'm going to be running these into an adapter, and that adapter is going to give me a low impedance signal that I can run into an amp, and then I'm going to put a sub in one of the bags. So this is the amplifier kit that I bought, and this is all from Skar Audio. I paid for it all, so they didn't sponsor anything, but pretty good stuff from what I've heard. It's an 8-inch sub here and amplifier in here. This is a 350 watt amplifier. I think it's a 700 watt sub. Should be good. And the piece that I've got to go between these, because you don't want to send, well, if your amp has a hookup, you can send it directly to it with speaker wire. This amp does not, so I got this piece right here, which is from Kicker, and it is a line out converter because there's no line out on that radio. There's only speaker connections. This turns it into a RCA plug. You do speaker wire in, RCA's out. Then you run your RCA wires that come in here, run these back to the amp, and power the amp through those wires, everything, which will be pretty simple. You just gotta go to the battery I'll probably run the amp, I think, in this one and run it over and then just run a speaker wire to the other one. Because you're not supposed to mount the amp and the speaker in the same box, bag, or on the box or whatever. So I think it'll work. I did test this. I heard multiple people on forums and stuff and videos saying that if you have one that doesn't have rear speakers, then these wires do nothing. These wires do work. I hooked it up to a speaker and it does play, but there's no controls for the rear speaker. There's no fader for front to rear for the rear speakers. They're just on, which for what I'm doing is completely fine, because all I want is a signal to power the amp, so it's not a big deal for me at all. If you do want to have fader control, you have to have the Harley dealership put a new firmware into the CD player. That's the Harman Kardon CD player, and they'll have to fix that. I've also got some other speakers to go in here, a couple other things. All right, guys, so I've got that installed now. It's in. There's 5 wires. This one I just grounded to the chassis of the radio for a ground, and then green goes to white, purple goes to gray for left and right. And now we've got RCA outputs. All right, got the RCAs in. Got a amp power on wire, so that's the normal blue wire you send back from a traditional radio. I'm gonna power it and a Bluetooth adapter actually off of the power going to the cigarette lighter, because it is switched power. And as soon as you turn on the switch, radio comes on and it'll send switched power back to our amp, and that'll tell the amp to turn on. And then we have wires, big wires there. The blue is for the hot and the black is for the negative, so those will hook up directly through a fuse to the amp in here. All right, guys, these are the bezel rings that I'm going with. Somebody had put these chrome ones on here years ago, so I took that one off, and these new rings are fairly cheap. They just go on with a double-sided tape. I did have to booger up the rim just a little bit of the gauge, but it doesn't matter. This completely covers it, so that looks pretty cool. So I'm doing all the black CNC cut, stuff like that, so should work. All right, now I've got the new speakers in. These are the Hogtunes Model 356F. The Hogtunes speakers. These are actually in the fairing of the bike we did the FXR front end on, FXRT. So these are the speakers that were in the old fairing, and they're actually way better than these other ones, because this one actually plays fine. This one right here has seen better days. So it wasn't barely playing anything at all, but these sound really good. So next thing I'm doing is wiring up this right here. This is a little Bluetooth module, and I'm just testing it here, just attached it to my positive and negative. So it does come on switched, all that's good. And then I've got it going from RCA into a regular headphone connection, so I can run everything right here. So that's gonna work pretty good. And this is like 10 bucks on eBay. These are way cheaper than the ones you buy for a Harley. They're super expensive, but they do exactly the same thing.
All right, guys, don't forget you can get $25 off of ceramic coating, the Armor Shield 9 from Avalon King, by putting HiRevz 25 in at checkout at avalonking.com.